The Galactic Council chamber was alive with a hum of voices, each species trying to make itself heard above the others. Delegates from hundreds of worlds argued about trade, territory, and influence, but today the topic was one that had captured everyone's attention: humanity. Even across the vast distances of the galaxy, humans had become subjects of legend. Stories of Earth's people, called humans, were passed from system to system, from fleet to fleet, and from colony to colony. Some called humans Deathworlders, claiming they could survive anywhere, on planets of fire, ice, poisonous gas, or storms that could crush entire cities. Their bodies, it was said, could endure extremes that would kill the hardiest alien soldiers. Their minds were clever, their strategies unpredictable, and their resolve unshakable. The chamber was a mixture of amusement and unease. Some delegates laughed outright, brushing off these accounts as exaggeration. "Humans are small," said a Syrian ambassador, his many eyes glinting with pride. "How can such creatures survive a death world? They are nothing more than fragile animals." The Thaurians snickered, waving their long hands dismissively. "Legends are for children," they said. "We do not fight with stories." Yet even among the laughter, a ripple of tension passed through the chamber. A few delegates remembered reports from scouts and explorers who had visited human colonies. They recalled tales of human ingenuity, colonies thriving on worlds with toxic atmospheres, outposts surviving violent storms, cities that had endured earthquakes and volcanic eruptions that wiped out other civilizations. And always there was the human resilience, the refusal to surrender, the determination to protect their own, and the cunning strategies that had repeatedly outsmarted far stronger opponents. At the center of the chamber, Ambassador Jonathan Hale sat in calm dignity, listening to the chatter. His presence was quiet, but there was weight to it. Humans did not raise their voices unnecessarily. They did not threaten or boast. They watched, they listened, and they acted with precision when the time came. Beside him, Emma Clark and David Mercer shared the same composed posture, their eyes scanning the chamber with careful attention. "Do not mistake patience for weakness," Jonathan said finally, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. It was not loud, nor was it angry, but it carried authority. Every delegate in the room paused, some out of respect, others out of sudden concern. Even the loudest critics found themselves quieting for a moment. Some laughed again, a little nervously this time, unsure if the calm words were simply diplomacy or something more. Yet others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They had heard the tales. They had read the reports. And now, face to face, they wondered, were the stories about humans exaggerated, or were they a warning that they had ignored for too long? "Humans survive," muttered one delegate under his breath, glancing at the human envoys. "They endure where others fall." Another whispered, "And when they strike, it is not with fury alone. It is with strategy, patience, and precision." Jonathan Hale did not respond. He had heard such whispers many times before. In the halls of the Galactic Council, humans were often underestimated. They were considered simple, emotional, or fragile. Other species found amusement in human attempts at diplomacy, thinking that their patience and politeness were signs of weakness. But history had a way of teaching lessons. Human colonies had faced threats from pirates, raiders, and natural disasters. Entire worlds had been nearly lost, only for humanity to adapt, rebuild, and sometimes take justice into their own hands. The galaxy had watched and recorded these events, and the records grew with each century. Humans might appear small and quiet, but their capacity for survival and retaliation was unmatched. Even the elders of the council, the wise and ancient beings who had seen countless civilizations rise and fall, leaned forward in their seats. They had warned every new species in hushed tones of the human's potential. "Never give humans a reason to fight," they said. Many young races ignored the warning, laughing at it as an old superstition. Yet the elders' words echoed through the years, and the few who remembered them now felt a chill. Jonathan's eyes swept across the chamber, resting briefly on each alien delegate. He did not need to raise his voice to make them uneasy. His calmness, his patience, and the quiet confidence of his presence were enough. It was a silent demonstration. Humans did not act rashly, but when pushed, they were unstoppable. Emma Clark's hand rested lightly on the table. Her gaze was steady, scanning reports that flickered across her screen. She had watched humans face countless crises, and she knew their strength was not only in weapons or fleets, but in their creativity, endurance, and unity. Every human colony was connected not just by trade and communication, but by a culture that valued resilience, courage, and loyalty. David Mercer leaned slightly forward, studying the reactions of the other species. He had learned, through decades of observing the council, that fear was rarely loud. It was quiet, subtle, and grew like a shadow across the room. He could feel it now, small but definite. Even among those who mocked humans, there was a tiny seed of worry, a flicker of realization that humans were not what they seemed. The chamber's laughter faded slowly, replaced by whispers. Some delegates shook their heads, unwilling to admit that perhaps humans were more dangerous than the stories suggested. Others pressed their fingers to their temples, trying to remember every report, every legend, and every warning they had ever heard. And still Jonathan Hale remained calm. There was no need for theatrics. Humanity did not boast. They did not threaten. But in the quiet moments, the presence of humans in the chamber carried a weight that even the proudest species could not ignore. In the far corners of the hall, some young delegates leaned toward each other. "They are said to survive worlds that would kill us," whispered one. "They are clever, patient, and deadly if crossed." "Legends," the other replied softly, but even as the word left his lips, doubt lingered. Could the stories really be true? Could these humans, small and soft-spoken as they appeared, truly be as fierce as the elders claimed? Jonathan rose slightly from his chair, just enough to signal attention. It was not a command, merely a gesture. Yet in the silence that followed, every species felt it. Humans were not to be mocked. Humans were not to be underestimated. The stories of Earth, whispered across galaxies and recorded in countless logs, were warnings. The council had often laughed, thinking them tales for children. But as the delegates looked at Jonathan, Emma, and David, even the loudest skeptics began to feel uneasy. For the first time, the council realized that humans were not just clever, not just patient, they were something else entirely. They were survivors. They were hunters when provoked. They were a force the galaxy had been told to respect, but many had chosen to ignore. And in that moment, a quiet truth settled over the chamber. The tales of Earth were not exaggeration. They were preparation. The galaxy would soon learn what it meant to meet a human face to face. The alien fleets descended through the clouds of Earth, confident and proud. The warriors aboard their ships were elite, trained for every environment the galaxy could throw at them. They had faced volcanic worlds, ice planets, and toxic gas spheres. They had never lost. Yet as their ships broke through the upper atmosphere, even the veterans felt a small, uneasy twinge. Below, Earth spread like a jewel. Oceans glittered under sunlight, forests stretched endlessly, and mountains rose sharply into the sky. From orbit it looked serene, almost inviting. Many of the alien commanders whispered to each other, a mixture of amusement and scorn. "A soft, green world," said one. "We will crush them in hours." Their confidence was high. They had seen Earth from afar, but they had not visited. The stories they had heard of humanity's resilience sounded like exaggeration. Deathworlders? Preposterous. Survivors? Perhaps, but not invincible. They had ships, weapons, and numbers. What could a planet of fragile, small humans do against trained warriors? The first ships landed near wide plains, hoping to set up forward bases. The ground beneath their feet seemed ordinary at first, firm and welcoming. But as soon as they stepped out, the true nature of the planet made itself known. Gravity pressed harder than they expected. Every step felt heavier, like walking in a storm of invisible weight. Muscles burned, armor creaked under strain, and even their strongest soldiers stumbled. Storms came without warning. Fierce winds tore through landing zones, tossing supplies and smashing fragile equipment. Rain fell in sheets, soaking soldiers through their protective gear and making weapons slick and difficult to handle. Lightning struck dangerously close, forcing retreat and scattering formations. Many of the invaders looked up in disbelief. This was not the calm planet they had imagined. This was alive, unpredictable, and hungry. The forests were even more formidable. Trees were taller than any the aliens had seen, their roots tangled and massive. The foliage was dense, dark, and full of unknown threats. Predators, some camouflaged perfectly, struck from shadows. Small, vicious creatures bit and clawed at the invaders' armor, drawing blood. Alien technology helped, but only partially. Many soldiers fell into traps hidden beneath leaves or were thrown off balance by sudden landslides. Earth itself seemed to resist them. The ground was uneven, filled with hidden pitfalls. Rivers were wider than their maps indicated, their currents strong and unpredictable. Mountain passes were steep, slick with rain and lined with razor-sharp rocks. Every attempt to advance was met with obstacles that the aliens had not prepared for. The humans appeared next, but not in the overwhelming numbers the aliens expected. Small squads, moving with perfect timing, struck from hidden positions. Pilots swooped down from the skies in fast, agile aircraft, hitting command centers before disappearing into clouds. Soldiers moved through forests and cities like ghosts, silent, precise, and disciplined. They did not waste energy in open battles. Instead, they struck exactly where it hurt. Jonathan Hale monitored the invasion from a hidden command center. Emma Clark tracked every alien movement, noting weaknesses in their formations. David Mercer coordinated defensive strikes, ensuring human squads were always one step ahead. They had prepared for every possible scenario. They did not need to win with sheer force. They needed only to survive, and to make the invaders understand the cost of underestimating humanity. The alien commanders' confidence began to crumble. Their elite warriors, trained for decades, found themselves losing control. Supply chains faltered as storms and terrain destroyed equipment. Communication systems flickered and died in sudden electromagnetic storms caused naturally by the planet. Every step forward required more effort, more risk, more fear. Reports came in of alien patrols ambushed by what seemed like small human units. One scout described a squad of humans hiding in dense trees, waiting silently for hours, then striking with pinpoint accuracy. The soldiers were disciplined, brave, and relentless. "They are fearless," the scout muttered over a broken comm, "and clever beyond reason." The aliens had expected resistance, but not this. Not the adaptability, the cunning, and the relentless coordination. Each human squad acted as if they knew the planet intimately, using terrain, weather, and time of day to their advantage. Mountains became walls, forests became shields, and rivers became traps. Every encounter left the invaders frustrated and fearful. Even the skies were not safe. Human pilots flew with skill that seemed almost unnatural, weaving through storms and striking from angles the aliens had not anticipated. Missiles launched from orbit rarely missed. Railguns hidden in satellites fired with such precision that entire alien ships were destroyed before they even knew they were targeted. The aliens tried to regroup. They formed tight formations, thinking that numbers would overwhelm the humans. But even with numbers, progress was slow. Terrain split their forces, storms forced them apart, and the humans struck where least expected. Every defeat, no matter how small, spread fear among the alien warriors. What had seemed a simple mission was turning into a nightmare. Reports to the Galactic Council back home were filled with confusion and terror. "We cannot understand," one commander transmitted. "The humans are not just surviving, they are dominating. Every attempt to land troops is met with failure. Our elite soldiers are falling. We are losing control." And yet, on Earth, the humans did not cheer or boast. They moved with calm precision, conserving energy, striking only when necessary, and always staying one step ahead. This was a different kind of strength, one the aliens had never faced. They had prepared for brute force, for overwhelming numbers, for superior technology. They had not prepared for strategy, cunning, and adaptability that flowed as naturally as breathing. Jonathan Hale watched the alien progress reports with a steady gaze. "They thought Earth would be easy," he said quietly. Emma Clark nodded. "They underestimated us. That is their mistake." David Mercer added, "And mistakes on this planet are costly." The alien commanders began to understand the truth. Earth was not soft. Humans were not ordinary. Every report of resistance, every setback, every failure drove home the same lesson. This was a world that shaped its inhabitants, a world that tested everything they sent against it. And those inhabitants, humans, were ready. Weeks passed and the alien morale crumbled. Ships that had landed were abandoned. Soldiers that had been trained for decades retreated. The blue planet, so peaceful from orbit, revealed its fury in forests, mountains, rivers, storms, and human ingenuity. Every inch of Earth became a battlefield that favored the defenders. For the first time, some alien warriors felt true fear. They had trained for every imaginable scenario, faced countless death worlds, and conquered harsh planets across the galaxy. But Earth was different. Earth was alive, dangerous, and home to a species that refused to be defeated. And above it all, in hidden command centers and high-tech observation posts, Jonathan Hale, Emma Clark, and David Mercer watched. Calm, composed, unshakable, they knew the aliens' folly. They knew the stories had been heard across the stars. Humans were Deathworlders. And now the aliens had met them in person. By the time the first fleet considered retreat, the damage was already done. Ships were wrecked, soldiers wounded or trapped, and the legend of humans was no longer just stories whispered in council chambers. It was real. The galaxy would not forget. The alien warriors had prepared for many things, but nothing had prepared them for this. They had seen Earth from orbit, scanned the planet, and studied satellite images. They had expected resistance, but they had not expected to face humans directly. On the ground, the forests and hills hid defenders moving like shadows. Jonathan Hale watched the first live combat reports from his command center, flanked by Emma Clark and David Mercer. The screens showed small groups of humans appearing suddenly, striking with precision, and disappearing before the aliens could organize a response. Luke Harrison was among the first to engage. He moved through the dense underbrush, sensing the alien positions before they even noticed him. His movements were swift but controlled, every step calculated to avoid detection. When he fired his weapon, it was precise, taking down a scout team with barely a sound. His training was unmatched, his reflexes honed through years of survival exercises on Earth's most dangerous terrains. Anna Mitchell coordinated a small squad nearby. She had studied the landscape in detail, knowing where the terrain could be used as an advantage. Fallen trees became barricades, narrow ravines turned into traps. When the alien soldiers pursued, they found themselves slowed, funneled, and vulnerable. Anna's team struck quickly, disabling equipment and forcing the invaders to retreat. The aliens had expected to dominate with brute force, but humans were not predictable. They did not charge blindly. They did not fight in large, exposed formations. Instead, they used the environment against the aliens, always aware of every possible threat. One by one, alien units fell into traps. Another squad tried to advance along a riverbank, only to be caught in a sudden collapse of mud and debris, engineered by humans who understood the terrain better than anyone. The humans coordinated through secure channels. Jonathan, Emma, and David had established a network linking squads in the forests, cities, and hills. Messages traveled instantly, allowing humans to react before the aliens could adjust. Every maneuver, every strike, every counterattack was synchronized. The aliens had technology, but humans had strategy and adaptability that no scanner could predict. From the sky, human pilots provided support. Drones and small craft flew low, striking alien troops and providing real-time intelligence. One pilot, Michael Bennett, flew through a storm, dodging lightning and debris, hitting a command post from an impossible angle. His actions allowed Anna's squad to trap the remaining aliens nearby. The aliens tried to use their superior weapons, but they quickly realized Earth was unlike any world they had faced. The gravity slowed their movements, and the dense atmosphere interfered with some of their energy weapons. Storms and unpredictable weather caused further havoc. Even the smallest human squads could force them into disadvantageous positions. Luke Harrison advanced carefully through a valley, his team following silently. The aliens tried to flank him, but he anticipated the move, drawing them into a trap where the terrain itself became a weapon. Rocks toppled, branches snapped, and sudden mudslides blocked their escape. By the time the alien soldiers recovered, they were disoriented, outmatched, and frightened. Communication between human squads was flawless. Anna Mitchell coordinated with Luke's unit, ensuring that alien forces never had a moment of rest. Small squads appeared unexpectedly from every direction, cutting off escape routes and striking at vital points. Each strike was quick, decisive, and efficient. The aliens began to understand a terrifying truth: humans were not just surviving, they were dominating the battlefield. Their movements were deliberate, their attacks precise, and their understanding of the environment unmatched. They had trained not only in combat but in survival, strategy, and adaptation. Every skill they possessed was amplified by their intimate knowledge of Earth. Jonathan Hale observed quietly. "They thought humans were just stories," he said. Emma Clark nodded. "They underestimated us. They believed in legends, but legends are never enough to survive this world." David Mercer added, "And they are learning too late. Every mistake cost them dearly." The aliens regrouped, trying to form defensive lines. They were disciplined, elite warriors trained for any challenge. But every attempt to organize was met with chaos. Luke's team struck first from the flanks, while Anna's squad used the terrain to prevent reinforcements. Alien commanders called for retreats, but their signals were intercepted and disrupted by humans controlling the local network. Meanwhile, human medics moved quickly to extract wounded soldiers, heal them, and return them to the front. Logistics were managed efficiently, ensuring that no squad was isolated or left vulnerable. The aliens realized they had underestimated not only the humans' combat skills but their organization, planning, and endurance. In one valley, a small alien unit tried to hold a bridge. They had superior numbers and heavier weapons. But a human squad led by Anna Mitchell triggered a controlled collapse upstream, washing out the bridge and isolating the unit. Luke Harrison's team then flanked from a hidden path, forcing the alien soldiers to surrender or flee. Every encounter reinforced the humans' advantage. The aliens were skilled, yes, but they were rigid, expecting predictable patterns. Humans were flexible, improvising based on observation, experience, and instinct. They were not just fighters, they were Deathworlders shaped by a planet that tested every human from birth. Reports of alien losses reached the Galactic Council. Whispers filled the chamber. "They cannot be ordinary humans," said one delegate. "They are more than the stories suggest." Another added, "We have underestimated them." Back on Earth, Jonathan Hale, Emma Clark, and David Mercer coordinated the final phase of the counterattack. Every squad knew its role, every move had been planned but allowed for improvisation. Alien troops were trapped, confused, and increasingly fearful. Luke Harrison signaled for a pause. The enemy was disorganized and terrified. His squad moved silently, ensuring that no alien could regroup. Anna Mitchell's team checked traps and secured the surrounding area. Human pilots circled above, ready to strike at any movement. The aliens realized they were outmatched. They had expected a quick victory, but humans had turned the planet itself into a weapon. Every tree, every river, every hill became part of the defense. They had met not just human soldiers but human strategy, human intelligence, and human resilience. For the first time, fear spread through the alien ranks. Soldiers whispered to each other, doubting their chances. Commanders questioned their orders. Every corner of Earth seemed to favor humans. Every encounter reminded them of their miscalculation. Jonathan Hale finally spoke to his team. "They thought they would break us with fear," he said. "They thought legends were just stories. Let them learn otherwise." Emma Clark smiled slightly. "They are learning quickly," David Mercer added, "and it is only the beginning." By the end of the first day of contact, the aliens were beaten back from their first positions. They were alive, yes, but demoralized, disorganized, and afraid. Humanity had revealed its true strength, not just as survivors of a harsh planet, but as warriors, strategists, and masters of their environment. The alien warriors who survived their first encounter told stories back to their fleets. The humans were not what the legends had promised, they were far more dangerous. One said, "They are not merely Deathworlders, they are predators in their own right." Above the battle, Jonathan, Emma, and David watched quietly. Earth had spoken for itself. The aliens would not soon forget the day they faced humans in their element, and the humans had only begun to fight. The remaining alien squad had barely managed to retreat. They stumbled back through forests, rivers, and rocky valleys, shaken and disoriented. Their pride had been shattered, their confidence lost. What they had expected to be an easy conquest had turned into a nightmare. The humans were not just fighters, they were survivors, hunters, and strategists, born of a world that shaped them through fire, storms, and struggle. From orbit, Jonathan Hale watched the last transmissions from the battlefield. Emma Clark and David Mercer stood beside him, silent but alert. The human teams on the ground moved with perfect coordination, ensuring that every alien who fled was tracked and contained. The operation was precise, controlled, and devastatingly effective. Every human movement was deliberate, leaving no room for the aliens to regroup. Reports came in from across the invaded region. Small squads had eliminated supply lines, disrupted communications, and captured critical technology. The alien soldiers had underestimated humanity's ability to turn the environment into a weapon. Gravity, terrain, storms, and wildlife were not obstacles, they were allies. Every ambush, every trap, every counterattack leveraged the natural world against the invaders. On the Galactic Council, whispers spread like wildfire. Delegates who had once mocked humanity were pale and silent. The stories of legendary Deathworlders suddenly seemed understated. What the Council was now witnessing was something far more terrifying, a species that thrived on its planet, shaped by hardship, and capable of turning every challenge into an advantage. One Thalrian delegate whispered to his neighbor, "These humans, they are not merely survivors. They are predators." The neighboring delegate shivered, unable to finish the thought. Even the Syrians, who prided themselves on martial prowess, looked uneasy. They had sent what they believed to be their elite warriors, yet those warriors had returned defeated, beaten, and shaken. Meanwhile, on the ground, Luke Harrison and Anna Mitchell coordinated the remaining operations. Every alien soldier attempting to escape was monitored and neutralized. The humans did not act out of malice, they acted out of control, intelligence, and instinct. Each encounter was swift and efficient, leaving no chance for the aliens to recover. Jonathan Hale addressed his commanders over the secure network. They expected to intimidate us with strength. They expected numbers to overwhelm. They expected their technology to dominate. They were wrong on every account. His voice was calm but carried weight that left no room for doubt. Emma Clark added, "We've always known what it takes to survive here. They are learning, painfully, what it means to challenge humans." David Mercer checked the operational maps. Every squad has their positions. Every escape route is covered. No one leaves without leaving evidence of their defeat. The lesson must be clear. In the council chamber, messages from the battlefield were displayed. Screens showed alien units trapped in forests, forced into ravines, or disoriented by storms that humans had anticipated and leveraged. Each display confirmed the same story. Humans had fought not as a single army but as an interconnected network, understanding and using every part of their world to maximum advantage. Delegates could not believe what they were seeing. One Vedhari counselor muttered, "We have faced strong species before. We have faced warriors and conquerors. But nothing compares to this." Another whispered, "They are more than the legends. They are something else entirely." Back on Earth, Jonathan Hale convened a quick briefing with field commanders. "They have seen the humans and they have not won," he said. "Now they know, Earth is not a place to conquer and humans are not to be underestimated." Emma Clark nodded. "Every step they take, every plan they make is being observed. And every mistake they make will teach them what it means to challenge this planet." David Mercer added, "Our goal is not to destroy every alien. They will leave with their lessons. But they will leave knowing the cost of underestimating us. That cost is real, immediate and undeniable." The alien commanders, reporting back to their fleets, tried to make sense of the failures. Their elite squads had not only been stopped, they had been outmaneuvered, outthought and defeated at every turn. Panic rippled through the invader ranks. Messages describing human tactics, adaptability, and environmental mastery spread quickly. Fleets reconsidered plans, fearing what lay ahead if they pressed the attack. The Galactic Council, for the first time, felt a fear that was tangible. The Elders' old warning echoed in their minds, "Never give humans a reason to fight." And now, it seemed, some species had given humans several reasons. The consequences were immediate, brutal, and undeniable. Jonathan Hale reviewed the final reports from the field. Luke Harrison's unit had trapped an entire alien squad in a narrow canyon, where the terrain worked as a natural barrier. Anna Mitchell's squad had disrupted communication nodes, leaving command posts blind and isolated. Pilots Michael Bennett and Sarah Thompson had intercepted reinforcements, ensuring no support reached the front lines. Every human action was measured, effective, and deliberate. On the alien ships, morale was crumbling. Soldiers whispered of Earth as if it were alive, capable of watching and striking at every misstep. Commanders attempted to regroup, but their efforts were too little, too late. The humans were not chasing glory, they were enforcing survival, using strategy, patience, and precision. The council chamber grew tense. No one laughed. No one mocked. Reports continued to arrive, each one reinforcing the same lesson. Humans were not a story. They were not just a species capable of surviving harsh worlds, they were Deathworlders in the truest sense, unmatched in their cunning and endurance. A Syrian counselor finally spoke, voice trembling, We sent our best. We thought them legends. Now we see, they are more than that. They are something we cannot fight." A Thaurian added, "They do not merely defend. They shape the battlefield itself. Earth itself is their weapon." Above the battle, Jonathan Hale watched quietly. Emma Clark and David Mercer stood beside him. The alien forces had been repelled, and the surviving soldiers had retreated. The humans did not celebrate. There was no need. They had shown what Earth demanded of anyone who challenged it. They had shown what humans demanded of anyone who dared to fight. From the council chamber to the far reaches of space, whispers began to circulate. Humans were no longer a story. They were a force shaped by a world of danger, challenge, and survival. And any who met them face to face discovered a terrifying truth. Humans were cunning, adaptable, and relentless. Jonathan Hale finally spoke to his team. They thought Earth was a prize to be taken. They thought humans could be intimidated. They were wrong. And now the galaxy is learning that lesson, one squad at a time. Emma Clark smiled faintly. "They underestimated us as always, and they will not make that mistake again." David Mercer added, "The lesson is clear. Humans are not to be challenged. This world and its people are not a playground, they are a fortress and every human is its guardian." By the end of the day, the remaining alien forces had withdrawn from Earth's surface, badly beaten and wary. Stories would be told across the stars of the humans' cunning, adaptability, and lethal efficiency. The legend of Earth as a death world and of its people as unstoppable survivors had been confirmed, not as myth but as undeniable fact. The Galactic Council would remember this day. They would remember the reports, the images, and the trembling voices of those who had faced humans in their element. And they would remember one lesson above all: never give humans a reason to fight. Months passed after the failed invasion of Earth. The fragments of alien ships that managed to escape drifted through space, returning to their home systems as ghostly reminders of the battle they had underestimated. Each piece carried a story, of humans who moved with precision, who anticipated every step, and who turned the very planet into a weapon. Jonathan Hale, Emma Clark, and David Mercer watched reports stream in from every corner of the world. The aliens' attempts to regroup had been stopped long before they even landed. Each failed mission, each lost squad, became a lesson etched into the galaxy's memory. Humanity had not needed to boast or demand recognition. Their actions alone spoke louder than any council declaration. In London, Luke Harrison and Anna Mitchell debriefed field teams. "Every unit performed as expected," Jonathan said quietly. "Not a single alien squad survived to tell the full story." Emma Clark added, "And that is exactly how it should be. No one should underestimate Earth or its people again." The surviving aliens who returned home spoke of Earth in hushed, fearful tones. Commanders trembled as they told of forests that trapped them, rivers that slowed them, skies that struck them with missiles before they even knew danger existed, and humans who seemed to appear and disappear at will. Stories of Luke and Anna, of Michael Bennett and Sarah Thompson, spread across fleets and councils like wildfire. "The humans," whispered one alien officer to another, "they are not just warriors. They are Deathworlders in the truest sense." The Galactic Council, which had once laughed at the idea of humans as legendary fighters, now convened in a hushed and tense chamber. The alien ambassadors who had fought or sent troops to Earth sat pale and silent. They had learned a painful lesson: humans did not fight with raw strength alone. They fought with patience, strategy, and a deep understanding of their environment. Jonathan Hale addressed a secure conference call with human leaders. "The aliens have returned to their homes. Our people did not boast, we did not celebrate. But the galaxy has learned the truth about Earth. That truth will protect our worlds for generations." Emma Clark added, "We did not fight to conquer. We fought to survive, as humans always have. And we ensured that anyone who would challenge us remembers the cost." David Mercer brought up fleet reports. "No alien squad has returned intact. No fleet has gained ground. Every loss is a lesson, every retreat a confirmation. The Council and every species now understand something they should have long ago: humans are not a threat to be tested lightly." Across the galaxy, markets, fleets, and councils carried the whispers. Merchants avoided routes near human-controlled space. Colonies strengthened defenses preemptively. Even the most prideful species warned their children about Earth's people. The humans would survive, adapt, and strike harder than anyone expected. In the council chamber, the elders updated the records. In bold letters they wrote, "Never give humans a reason to fight." A simple warning, now backed by irrefutable proof. Delegates who had once mocked humanity looked at one another, recalling the stories of the battle. One Thalrian counselor whispered, "They are not just legends. They are a force shaped by their world, unstoppable when provoked." Even the Syrians, known for their arrogance, admitted quietly that no warrior they sent could match the humans. "We were foolish," said one. "We believed our strength was enough. We underestimated what it means to face a Deathworlder." The humans did not gloat. They returned to their homes, their cities, and their forests. Life went on. But the galaxy had taken note. Ships carried the tales of Luke Harrison's ambushes, Anna Mitchell's tactical brilliance, and the coordinated precision of Earth's forces. Every report confirmed a single fact: humanity was not to be underestimated, not now, not ever. Jonathan Hale reflected on the lessons learned, not just by aliens but by humans themselves. The people of Earth had always known the value of survival, the necessity of preparation, and the power of strategy. The alien invasion had proven that humanity could enforce these lessons with unmatched efficiency. Emma Clark observed the calmness of the human teams. "They now know what it means to meet a human face to face. They'll tell stories of fear and defeat for generations. That is enough. The lesson is complete." David Mercer added, "And so it should be. Humanity does not need to fight for glory or dominance. We fight because our people, our home, demand it." The galaxy now knows the cost of forgetting that fact. The fragments of alien technology that remained in orbit or drifted through space were examined by humans, but also feared. Reports sent back to the alien home worlds were fragmented, incomplete and full of fear. Every fleet that had once believed in a quick conquest now understood the weight of Earth's environment, the intelligence of its defenders, and the relentlessness of its people. In time, the story became legend. Across star systems, from colonies to central worlds, children were taught to respect humans, not out of admiration but out of caution. Humanity's reputation as Deathworlders was no longer myth. It was a reality confirmed by strategy, survival, and action. One alien elder summed it up simply: to face humans is to face the environment itself, molded into sentience and skill. We can no longer treat them lightly. On Earth, Jonathan Hale, Emma Clark, and David Mercer continued their duties, maintaining vigilance but never striking unnecessarily. Humanity had survived, defended, and left an indelible mark on the galaxy. They had given no reason for pride or arrogance, only the clear, undeniable proof that humans could endure, adapt, and prevail. From the Council to the furthest edges of known space, the lesson was clear. Never provoke humans, never underestimate them, and never assume survival comes easily against a species shaped by a Class 15 death world. And so, the galaxy remembered. The humans had not sought war, but when war came, they had shown what it meant to face the guardians of Earth. The Elder's warning was no longer theoretical. It had been confirmed in the harshest possible way. The humans returned to their lives, quiet, watchful, and patient. But every species that had once thought lightly of Earth now understood that contact with humans was a serious matter. Any who attempted aggression learned the same truth. Humanity is relentless, adaptable, and impossible to ignore. The Galactic Council updated its records permanently. Across countless star systems, the story spread: humans are Deathworlders. Their planet Earth is not a place to challenge. And their people, when pushed, are unstoppable. The lesson was clear. The galaxy would never forget it,